Let's talk about Florida, the land of endless sunshine, theme parks, and headlines that sound like satire. It's a place where palm trees sway over pastel-colored streets and every sunset feels like a postcard. But beneath the surface of this sun-drenched paradise, there's a story that rarely makes the brochures. It's a tourism powerhouse drawing millions for beaches, theme parks, and the promise of paradise. Every year, families flock here for vacations, retirees chase the dream of endless summer, and thrill-seekers line up for roller coasters and water slides. The state's identity is built on the idea of escape, a place where worries melt away in the sun. The official story is one of unending success, record visitors, billions in revenue, and a supposed paradise for all. Politicians and business leaders tout the numbers, pointing to Florida as a model of economic growth and opportunity. On the surface, it's a glittering success story, but behind the fireworks and glossy brochures lies a harsher truth. The reality for many Floridians is far removed from the fantasy sold to tourists. The magic fades when you look past the marketing. Florida's economic miracle is built on a foundation of inequality. The wealth generated by tourism rarely trickles down to the people who make it all possible. Instead, the gap between rich and poor keeps widening. The tourism industry enriches a select few, while the workers who keep it running are trapped in low-wage, high-cost cycles. Many struggle to afford housing, healthcare, or even basic necessities, despite working long hours in the shadow of luxury. The narrative says more tourists mean more money for everyone, but the reality is far more selective. The benefits are concentrated at the top, while the people on the ground are left behind, often invisible to the visitors they serve. Today, we're looking past the smiling mascots to examine the real cost of Florida's tourism boom. We'll see how the relentless pursuit of profit has created a gilded cage, beautiful on the outside, but confining for those within. We'll explore the gap between soaring profits and stagnant wages, and how political choices have deepened this divide. The story of Florida's tourism isn't just about fun in the sun, it's about who gets to enjoy the sunshine, and who's left in the shadows. This is the story of how Florida's Magic Kingdom is showing cracks beneath the glitter, and why it matters for everyone who calls the Sunshine State home. Let's start with the numbers, because they're staggering and they shape the very identity of Central Florida. Every year, millions of people from around the world flock to this sun-soaked region, drawn by its promise of fun, adventure, and escape. In 2024, Central Florida's tourism industry generated a jaw-dropping $94.50 billion, more than the GDP of some entire countries. This single sector has become the economic engine that powers the region, fueling growth and opportunity. Over 75 million visitors poured into Central Florida, spending an astonishing $164 million every single day on hotels, theme parks, restaurants, and souvenirs. The sheer scale of this daily influx is hard to imagine. Every day, the region transforms into a global crossroads. This spending rippled through the economy, supporting over 468,000 jobs, more than a third of Central Florida's workforce. From hotel housekeepers to theme park performers, thousands rely on tourism for their livelihoods. State leaders like Governor DeSantis tout these numbers as proof of success, crediting pro-business policies and a welcoming climate for visitors. They point to tourism as a shining example of Florida's economic strength. Industry leaders echo the message: more visitors mean more prosperity for all. They celebrate record-breaking attendance and ever-growing profits, painting a picture of endless opportunity. Tax revenue from tourism hit $6.7 billion, supposedly saving households thousands in taxes each year. The story goes that every Floridian benefits, whether they work in tourism or not. On paper, it's a perfect system. Tourists spend, jobs are created, taxes are paid, and everyone wins. The cycle seems simple, efficient, and fair. But if everything is so wonderful, why do so many Floridians feel left behind? For many, the numbers don't add up to a better life. The numbers tell one story, but the reality for workers is another. Behind the scenes, many struggle with low wages and rising costs. The prosperity is real, but it's not shared equally. The gap between those who profit and those who serve continues to widen. So let's look closer at who's really benefiting, and who's still waiting for their share of the sunshine. Now let's take a closer look at what life is really like for the people who make Florida's magic possible. Behind every sparkling hotel lobby, every thrilling theme park ride, and every perfectly prepared meal, there's a workforce whose daily reality is far from the fantasy they help create. Hotel cleaners, ride operators, servers, and shuttle drivers are the invisible engine that keeps the tourism machine running. Yet, Despite their essential roles, their paychecks often barely cover the basics: rent, groceries, and transportation. Many juggle multiple jobs or work overtime just to make ends meet. While the industry's profits soar to record highs, wage increases for frontline workers are minimal and quickly swallowed by inflation and the relentless rise in housing costs. For many, the dream of financial stability slips further away each year. A Disney frontline worker might earn $16 to $25 an hour, but in a tourist-priced economy, that's not enough to afford even a modest apartment near their workplace. Some commute long distances or share cramped housing to survive. High-paying management jobs are rare. Most workers remain stuck in low-wage roles, serving a dream they themselves can't afford to experience. Advancement is limited, and benefits are often minimal or out of reach. The paradox is clear. Florida's booming economy depends on these workers, yet the system ensures they receive the smallest share of the wealth. They serve luxury but live with scarcity. Without their dedication, the entire show would grind to a halt. Yet they're the ones who go home exhausted, worried about bills, and uncertain about the future. The foundation of Florida's tourism is built on the backs of workers who are systematically squeezed, their labor undervalued, and their voices often unheard. The promise of shared prosperity is for many just a mirage. The gap between those who vacation in paradise and those who serve them grows wider every year. The real cost of paradise isn't measured in ticket sales or hotel bookings. It's paid, every day, by those who can least afford it. Their struggle is the hidden price of Florida's endless summer. How did Florida end up with such deep inequality? The answer is politics. Decades of policy choices have favored big corporations over workers, all in the name of being pro-business. Florida's right-to-work laws weaken unions, making it hard for workers to demand better pay or conditions. Minimum wage increases lag behind the real cost of living, especially in tourist hotspots. Deregulation and tax breaks for the industry are sold as ways to boost investment, but the benefits rarely trickle down. Instead, wealth flows upward, subsidized by public money, while workers see little improvement. The system is engineered to keep labor costs low and profits high, locking in inequality. The tourism industry isn't just powerful, it's a political kingmaker. Profits from tourism flow straight into campaign coffers, buying influence and shaping policy. Corporations invest in politicians, expecting returns in the form of deregulation, tax breaks, and resistance to wage hikes. This creates a cycle. Politicians serve donors, not residents, and the status quo persists. The community pays the price. Affordable housing, healthcare, and public services are neglected. Low wages strain public resources, fueling homelessness and overburdening emergency services. The tax revenue the industry boasts about often goes to fixing the problems its business model creates. It's a cycle where the community subsidizes corporate profits and bears the hidden costs. The real winners are the corporations, not the people. The industry's favorite myth is that everyone benefits from tourism. They claim visitor taxes save each household thousands, but that's just statistical sleight of hand. The supposed savings are theoretical. No one gets a check in the mail. Meanwhile, suppressed wages and high costs erase any benefit for most families. The money flows from tourists, through underpaid workers, straight to corporate shareholders, many of whom don't even live in Florida. The community is treated as a resource, not a partner. For most workers, the promise of opportunity is just that, a promise, not a reality. The fairy tale of shared prosperity hides a much harsher truth. So, what's next for Florida? The tourism machine keeps running, but the gap between profits and worker well-being is growing. An economy built on low wages and socialized costs is unstable, a house of cards waiting to fall. If workers can't afford to live near their jobs, or if frustration boils over, the whole system is at risk. Happy tourists depend on happy workers, but the current model leaves too many exhausted and struggling. Political choices that favor corporations over communities threaten Florida's long-term future. Underfunded schools, neglected infrastructure, and unaffordable housing will eventually erode what makes Florida attractive. The state faces a choice: keep chasing record profits, or invest in its people and stability. The untold story of Florida's tourism boom is a warning. A kingdom built on struggling workers can't stay magical forever.